Hello, and here we are in the after show afterthoughts, and here is Katrin with me, and Lynnie got me here. And Katrin, say your last name for me so I say it correctly.
Hilbe.
Hilbe.
Mhm.
Okay. That's very, very far from what I've been saying. Okay.
That's fine, but you usually don't need my last name.
Well, but I really want to thank you for the prior hour or almost an hour, because it was just an interesting journey to hear someone who is born here, uh, educated and raised in another country, and then really coming back here and then including the whole circle of your life. It's just very, very circular. And one of the things that I thank you, everyone, participants, for coming in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the ability to talk. All you have to do is let me know that you want
Mhm.
to say something, and that will be acknowledged. But thank you, and I one of my good friends is on here. I don't recognize a couple of names, but I do recognize my good friend Brenda, who is here. And thank you for tuning in, my dear friend. Now, I want to ask you, we talked about maybe in 5 years what you thought, might be where you're going, but given where the business is, and the business is constantly changing, just the atmosphere from time to time, the pandemic has uprooted us and caused a lot of people to do different things in the business. Some are still here, some have left. uh, Given all of those things, how do you think you'll fit into where we're going? Because I'm constantly trying to figure that out myself. How am I going to fit into where we're going? You know, uh, as far
Well,
as
that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, um, oh, Lynnie, let me just reach behind me and I will have the solution right here.
right there. Yes. It's
No, I mean, obviously this landscape has changed a lot since the pandemic. We have changed. I mean, we just can't deny that the pandemic has done something to us. It has done something to our lives. It has done something also to our professional outlook. And that is what you touched upon before, when you asked about the ideal day. I think once I stepped down from being co-president of the league and agonizing over this beloved organization every given day,
Mhm.
that's when I actually will have more breath and time to have my sensors really out. I mean, I now, of course, speak to members, I speak to my colleagues, but that will then also, I think for me, on the one hand, yes, I want to be hired. I'm a gun for hire. I'm a freelance director.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, I do see my future, creatively speaking, also in collaborations, be it that with many tracks or really artistic collaborations, that because I don't, I really don't want to do this alone
Mhm.
because it's a hard world, and it's gotten harder. I mean, it's the landscape has changed, and I do feel that collaborating and doing things in as a creative team, and also as a producing team, and also as an artistic team, um, I think that's the way that I think that will be the direction.
Mhm.
Obviously, when someone contacts me and has a beautiful project and gives me a contract, I will not say no. I am not
I
saying
understand.
no,
I understand. I understand.
But it's also true that, let's be honest, I mean, since the pandemic, the work that I've gotten, the live work that I've gotten, I mean, and full productions have not been in New York.
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
gotten enormous. I've become a Zoom reading pro, and I've done
I
a
know the
lot of readings.
feeling.
I do working on
Mhm.
working,
Mhm.
but the production side of things has gotten just so much harder, and uh, also because the audiences haven't come back fully. It's just hard.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to forecast. I mean, not that we could forecast that much, that accurately before, but that there was a pattern that the business had,
Yeah.
that we could follow. But now the pattern changes constantly. Some of it is the strength in Zoom. Some of it is the strength in live. And how do we marry the two? So that both of those things can exist in a healthy way, and they can really satisfy the audiences that they need to satisfy.
And also, yeah, and I also think there's a whole different question, because the discussion about theater as a healthy place, for theater professionals, for theater workers, that cultural shift where important questions are asked about how much self-exploitation does this career need, how much abuse were we willing to put up with,
Yeah.
and a certain culture that I still grew up with. And I think those are actually really, really important discussions, that this culture is looked at and hopefully has a shift. But that, of course, has economic consequences. The moment you can't don't have an armada of people that you can put to work, because that's how you learn.
It makes you sit, and you do. I do concentrate about it. I do think on it. Where is it going? How much of it can I tolerate, and want to be a part of? How much of it is politically based, and how much do I want to be a part of that? I want to do art for art's sake. As you said earlier, I don't want to dictate to people. I don't want to say this is what you should do, and let me tell you why you should do this. I just want to present the case and let them make up their minds. And that's not being done enough for me, I think. I think now people have been, they preach from the stage. They tell you what you should be thinking, and if you don't agree with what they're thinking, then there's another excuse why they say, well, you don't, you're not aware of this or not aware of that. But not necessarily is that true. Maybe you just don't think, you just don't agree. There's no deep thing. You just don't agree with that pattern, and everyone has the right to, I think, an interpretation. They just don't have to push it on everybody all the time. And that's that. I don't want the theater to go into that realm where we dictate to people, this is what it is and this is how you should think, because this is how I've determined that this is. And I don't want to be a part of that kind of theater.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, theater as a bully pulpit was not exactly a winning strategy. So no. Theatrically speaking.
Yeah. No.
So, Brad, do you think Brenda, would you like to ask a question?
Let me see. She's muted. No, she's still just listening. She's just listening. She's just listening.
Good.
Yeah. And everyone else is unmuted. There are a lot of numbers that I don't.
Wonderful.
But they're just, I think they're still continuing to listen from what we were saying in the conversation, and how I think everyone is interested about what people are thinking about the business. And
well, it is also interesting because you asked about the League of Professional Theatre Women. Obviously, that is also your and my closest concern here. But I'm also president of sort of a sort of parallel organization in Liechtenstein, so the interest group arts for freelance artists in Liechtenstein, which we founded during COVID when we realized that freelance artists fell through all the COVID relief cracks.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's a much smaller organization, and we're just building, and it doesn't have that focus on professional theater women. But the notion on how the business model is changing and how can theater artists even, what is a sustainable way to live? I mean, the idea that we could make hourly rates like lawyers do is, of course, wishful thinking.
Yes.
But just even the idea that there could be something like sustainability in our
Mhm.
wages,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that has really come to the fore. So one of the big projects that we're having with that organization is um, social security for artists.
Ah.
How does that look like? How would that look like? You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
because we artists, we don't have like one employment path for most of us. We have a day job, we have maybe two temp jobs, and then we have theater gigs or music gigs, and then what I call economic patchwork existence.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
social security models, especially the ones that we had in Liechtenstein, didn't account for that at all.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's something that we're really looking at and exploring, and because it's such a small country, uh, we could make our voices heard very easily. That doesn't mean that we are truly heard, but we are at least given lip service that we're heard,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
Well,
So
it's just I think we have to we have to start thinking about how this business is going to have longevity. We
mhm,
talk about it with the league all the time. We worry about the longevity of the league and sustaining of it, and it indeed it's our business too, and creating an atmosphere where the voices can be heard, all the voices, whether
mhm.
you agree with them or not. It's important that they all are heard, and then it's important that if you don't agree, that you're allowed not to agree, and you're not isolated because you don't agree, or you're not called something because you don't agree. That that there's a discussion about it, and that we all learn from it. um,
And then there comes the fine line, which I think is also interesting, not so much in theater, but politically speaking, you know, what is then the line where we do have to say, no, I'm sorry, that's a no-go. And
yes,
I will now
I will
go.
not do, I won't go, and again, that's not happening. I'm not there.
See, that's where it gets tricky.
Mhm.
That's a sticky wicket,
Yeah,
which is exactly, that whole First Amendment free speech.
mhm.
And it's really interesting because I grew up in a different culture. I mean, I didn't grow up in Germany. I grew up adjacent or south of Germany.
Mhm.
But the post-war atmosphere in Germany, really digesting their Third Reich history, Western Germany, that is. Eastern Germany didn't do much of digesting.
Mhm.
Um, and that was then, you in Germany, you are not allowed to say certain things for good reason because they have a different history,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And at the same time, he's like, it'll like come out somewhere.
yeah.
So I think that's it. That is really an interesting topic. And again, that would be, for instance, a many tracks project. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think discussions, people having discussions about where we are, talking it out. Sometimes I find just speaking to people about the business helps me formulate a little bit clearer where I want to do, what I want to do, accomplish maybe that day. I've learned not to have that long-term projection because things are always in motion and always changing. So I say, well, now for this particular day, this particular time, I think this can work for me at this point,
Mhm.
you know. And I think That's different. Um,
I think that's also a post-pandemic reaction, because we learned in the pandemic that because our life turned on a dime,
mhm, mhm.
and we had never considered that.
No,
And I think
the
now, coming
yeah,
out of the pandemic, that's where the value of the short term, where it's like,
yes.
let's not make a 20-year plan. That,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
just
let's
don't
don't.
know.
Exactly, exactly. It's important to have a plan. So because we, to have plan, to be planless. I mean, just to haphazard is not anything that you can function in this society. But you got to have something. But you can't rely upon, if you invest in it so deeply, then you lose your versatility and your flexibility.
Which
You
brings me
have to
to
be
one of my favorite quotes of a man who I never quote because I agree with nothing
uh
that he says, namely Donald Rumsfeld.
ah
And he said, the plan is nothing, planning is everything.
mhm, mhm.
And I just think that's brilliant,
It is. It is.
because
It,
chance does favor the prepared,
it does. It does.
but the
But you
plan
never know,
itself,
you're prepared, but you never know exactly what you're prepared for.
right? There's not a
Yeah.
single job that I ever got that I had really planned for. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to this and this event and meet this and this person, and then something will pan out.
It's
Never,
exactly. It's
ever.
never. I mean, I have actually gone into interviews thinking I um I know this role is exactly what what I want. This is the role that I want. And I get hired for a whole different role.
Mm-hmm.
Different totally. And I've gone in there focused, thinking that I'm selling myself on this, and they've already determined that I was right for the other thing, but they're just enjoying all of the the variety that I've given them.
Yeah.
So it is it is a business that was not stable in the very beginning, and now it's really one where it's hard to find the stability in it, and that your passion keeps you there. It's the passion that keeps you there.
Yes, and that is the thing. It's the passion, it's the umph, and and that is something that I think once I can gently hand the league over, me and Ludovica will hand the league over to fresh hands. I think that's when I will have the ability to take a breath and have these energetic resources to see where this passion takes me, you know.
I have to say, not I'd have not known you as as a director. I've only known you as a co-president. And so to hear this from you, to hear about your artistic side, it's just like we're cut down the middle. This artistic side, I've never been able to really experience, because our meetings are always about, an organizational, corporational kind of of
Mm-hmm.
situation. So to hear this is a whole nother opening.
Oh yeah, it's very,
Oh,
when we meet, and we shall meet again tomorrow morning.
yes, we
Uh,
shall.
it's all left side,
Yes.
and one of the things is that the right side, the dream child. And there are moments, like for instance, I do have ideas also for the league, hardly ever when I'm in a Zoom meeting, but when I'm actually allowing myself to walk away,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then, and if I rest, and then sort of, because that's when the imagination comes. But you're
It's
right. I mean, the league
creativity.
is
Yes, yes.
primarily left brain activity,
Mm-hmm.
and
In our meetings, now, let me just tell you when it becomes right brain for me is when I go into, like, I had a wonderful coffee hour the other night.
oh, great.
It's fabulous. In fact,
Yes.
it was supposed to be an hour, it lasted an hour and a half.
Oh, lovely.
You know,
Oh, I'm so glad.
conversations about theater, and it was only a couple, one or two people, but it was just the conversations about it and the different points of views. That's that's the part of the league that is so enjoyable for me as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of my brain, the challenge of is that corporate training that I had early in life. That does that. But the roundtables and the discussion and the challenges that come to you as as a director, as a producer, as an actor, as a singer, as a what all of those things, very very important. You know,
Oh,
very very.
great. And I'm looking forward to be able to attend a round table again.
We have a question. We have
Brenda.
a question. Yes.
Hello, ladies. I don't have a question, but I'd like to thank both of you for such a lovely evening of conversation. I'm so proud of my darling friend Lynnie and this wonderful platform, and she inevitably brings on colleagues or uh, friends, whatever, who just lend so much to this wonderful platform that she's established. And I enjoyed it as I always do. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. This thing, she's brilliant. This is a brilliant performer we're talking about here. Yeah, my friend. I always say I only know brilliant performers. So
Oh,
all of
Lenny,
my
for heaven's
friends.
sake. Well, you've been talking to a brilliant artist for the past hour and how many minutes now? And I was there from the very beginning, but it's just, and especially when she has women on. You know, the exchange between female artists, in my opinion, there's nothing quite like it because we have such a sisterhood, I think.
Mhm.
And gosh, the backgrounds may be different and all, but we're all so similar in our hopes and our dreams. When you talked about dreaming, having the
Mhm.
time to dream in the
Dream.
next 5 years,
Yeah.
that just spoke to me
Mhm.
so profoundly. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Just to have that time to dream.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a wonderful thing
Yeah.
to, to aspire to, just to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
that's what we're here to do and to create
yeah,
dreams.
yeah.
You know, we
But
get,
that's all.
oh
That's all I
Well,
well,
wanted to
thank
thank
say.
you.
you.
I couldn't just stay silent all
Oh well.
during this time because the time is too precious and it's too special not to acknowledge, to say thank you. It's mighty generous uh, of someone to come on and share their life, their experiences,
Mhm. Yes.
what's
Um,
gone right, what's gone wrong over the span of their careers. So thank you so very much, Katrin.
well,
Thank you
Well, thank
so
you,
very much.
Brenda. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure.
just
And a big mwah, kiss to my darling sister and friend.
thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
righty.
Hey, Brenda.
Bye bye. Oh, it's just, it warms the heart because it is out of a passion to get more people to support the arts that I do this. Um and it's a routine now. It's something that
Mhm.
I do. It's just something that I do. I'd love for it to be on a larger venue, but if it never does, it's okay, because we have archived so many
Mhm.
wonderful conversations, and people can go and listen to that.
Oral history.
Yes, oral
It's oral history. Yeah. And I think
history.
that's really important.
Yeah.
And what you, Brenda, just said about, of course, they're amazingly wonderful men, well
Mhm,
deserving of this
mhm.
conversation,
Yes.
but especially women's history has been untold. We have catch up,
Mhm.
there's a catch up quality, and I think that's a really important service that you do for our community, Lynnie. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, I have been very blessed in this community, in my private life also. So it got to be a point where I was just saying, what can I do to give back? What can I do? And one of the things, like you, I've created a nonprofit organization, an ensemble of actors that I work with, and they have given me a release. But they're from all of these very organizational things, I found that I do need time to dream. And I'm beginning to need it more and more, and want to, people stop me and they go, well, this is great, but when are you going to do blah, 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 blah. And I'll go, you're right. I will.
Yeah, but we also live in a world that is so focused on the doing, and it's so interesting because in this workshop that I'm taking, oh God, and I have to find my notes from last week to freshen up. But one of the questions for this week is, I know I've lived a successful life because I was able to XYZ. And so I said, well, the way the question is formulated is a focus on activity, goes for a verb. And isn't there also inherent value in us as beings? And now I talk a good talk there, but I'm the worst. I'm the worst because I find it very hard to not judge myself solely on the things I do.
Well, yeah, I have to say that.
Do as I say, don't do as I do.
Well, would you say, I think that I've had a successful life and career because I am what?
See, that's exactly what first of all, define success, define career. One of my mentors also said, it's also a quote I say a lot because I think it's so beautiful. And I have to really learn to truly believe it, is that artists don't have careers, they have bodies of work. And that's another thing that I'm now really thinking about, is the inherent competitive value system that has been drummed into us. And is that really good for artistic growth?
Well, I think sometimes when I can only talk about me, look at someone that I admire, I try to see the body of work that they have. I think that you say that, quote unquote, that to me, and sometimes that's making specific choices. It's not just taking what is available now. Well, this has come up and let's do this and let's do that. But it's let me do something that I've not done before. Let me challenge myself. Let me use those muscles that I've trained so hard to use. And that, I think, develops the body of work more than anything else. But it's not a one answer.
No.
It's that
highly individualized.
Exactly.
And I think to really create or be and do out of our authentic selves, I think that's also that means also not only dreaming, but also listening.
Absolutely.
Listening to others, but also listening to our own dreams or inner voices, own sort of.
Well, it's also, being open to receive.
Absolutely.
Receiving is a very important thing. People can say things to you, but if you don't receive it, it's like it bounces right off. It doesn't, you don't absorb it. So sometimes one of the playwrights that I work with a lot and talk to a lot is Celeste Bedford Walker. And I will say something to her and she will say continually, I received that, Lynnie. I received that. And she got that from a woman in her church who says, you know what, I received that. It is like opening up a little door and letting it come in, and so that you can absorb what this person has given you, that gift that they've given you. And that's a learned thing. It doesn't come naturally because it's not taught in our culture, in our society. It's not taught.
No, it's usually either in church or years of therapy and couples therapy. And, that's when you sort of learn the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Listening is a skill.
Yes, it is. This thing is, and it's a wonderful skill if one acquires it when one is training as an actor, then maybe one can apply it also in one's personal life. Hello, listening is a very important thing. Not anticipating, but just listening and in the moment. In the moment.
Yeah, as an actor, that's one of the most important tools.
It is. And
it's
it
actually really
as a
funny.
director, but it's also one as a director.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And watching. I mean,
yes.
That is actually when I direct and the minutes before official rehearsals start, when you say hello, when you sort of get settled and you chit chat, and then also during breaks, that's when I watch. Yes, I, have my sandwich if there's
of course, but
I
you are.
watch.
Our job is to be observant as actors, as directors. It's to be observant, because it's those small little things that you can use that the person is not even aware of. That you can use. Yeah, and then that's the gift of all of it, is really pulling all of those kind of things together and being able to say that, I'm learning that this is, from understanding from the very first job that I had, that I still remember vividly, to the ones that I do now, what the growth has been, and as a performer and as a human being, I'm hoping that I take more time to listen. And my father used to say, "Don't talk so much. Why don't you listen?" Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much to you, Katrin. I'm going to end this, and I want you to stay on for just a little second. Okay. But I want to say thank you, everyone who will see this on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. They will be on all of those things. You will be able to share that, especially Katrin, on my page. You'll be able to get that and share it to whomever you want. And I want to thank everyone again in this segment of the After Show Afterthoughts for your continual support. I want you to have a wonderful holiday, healthy as you can make it, as healthy as you can make it. And I look forward to seeing you again. And in this way, oh, well, thank you, Patricia. Thank you very much. One of the participants has written in the chat, and I really am very, very happy to be able to say that I enjoy this, that it is one of the passions that I do now. I am developing, and I thought I had already found them all, but this was something that was new. So thank you all for letting me grow in front of you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was an utmost pleasure.
Thank you. And with that, we'll say I will see you next time, and we'll end this recording. Thank you. Bye-bye.